Hey there everybody, Eric from Outer Limitless coming at you today with another video. Now today's video is going to be very enjoyable for a number of reasons. Not only are we going to talk about a knife, a work tough knife, but today's going to be a little bit of a story, a little bit of reflection, and maybe just a little bit of perspective. Because when it all comes down to it, this here in my hands, this is the Work Tough Gear Jessmuk. Now, a lot of people might forget, but if you go way back in time to what I'm going to say was a Gen 1 reviewer, Chris Tanner of Prepared Mind 101, well, he influenced a whole bunch of what we are up to today, and you might not realize it, but you know, to me, I'm going to call Chris in that whole time period Gen 1 reviewers. He would maybe say he's Gen 2, but he's got to be at it at this point for around maybe 12 or 13 years. And so when it boils down to it, he is, and from what I believe, one of the very first reviewers who actually started collaborating with manufacturers to make knives. This in my hand, this was his first production run of the Jessmuk from LT Wright, and he is the reason why I personally fell in love with LT Wright, and why I started hard using my knives, and why I started batoning and all the field use that we have today, and reviewers since and designers since, in my opinion, come from a place where guys like Chris Tanner in Prepared Mind 101 and the other reviewers in that sort of first generation of reviewers really set the tone for where we've landed today. So this Jessmuk here is not just sort of a modern take on the original Jessmuk, but in my opinion, it's kind of a symbol in a way of where we've been to where we have come. And so this knife is really cool, and I hope you enjoy that perspective. Think about it a little bit. And so you need to think about and remember the time when O1 tool steel and A2 tool steel were like the rage. They were the upgraded 1095, and you know, they were the sort of, in a way, super steel of the moment and of the day. And you know, these LT Wright knives really did set the bar for a, and I guess I would say, like, a repeatable result in a hand-finished knife. I mean, at the time, you know, Chris had a whole bunch of awesome reviews covering LT Wright knives, working with LT, really demonstrating all the different models, and getting his, you know, name out there with his own design, and just such a creative design, again, with LT Wright. It was really an awesome time for me in terms of just my sort of personal and knife development. But, you know, I think it was a huge thing, not just for Chris, but for the industry as a whole. And so this knife here is legitimately like the very first run. As soon as I saw this knife was available, I purchased one. You'll notice it does not even have his logo on it. Future iterations had the logo and, you know, were a little bit more refined. I think they even might have lost the jimping. I can't recall for certain. This is 1/8 inch stock, and I think this is O1. I can't remember if this is O1 or A2, but I'm pretty sure it's O1. I never had a really great sheath for this, but it's just such a cool knife. And I've had a lot of knives that have come and gone, but this one just stays in the collection for so many reasons, and a little bit because of the sentimental value. But now we're here to talk about the Work Tough Jessmuk. This has a full overhaul and really does modernize the design. You're talking about a full thickness handle, full tang, nice and thick, robust. This is leveraging the Bowler K329 steel, which Work Tough Gear has been using on a number of models at this point and has pretty much become their standard for sort of that stainless genre. So now the first production run of the Jessmuk under the Work Tough brand again, this is sort of a symbolic day, and I don't know if anyone else is really thinking about it like that, but bottom line is, it is. And this knife really does now, at this point, put sort of a bookend on this journey that takes us from the origination of, YouTube and reviewers and, reviewers who design knives and getting them out there to now this model, which is the modern day Jessmuk. Really cool and just awesome to have this in my hands. Now, as we take a look at this, you can see that full length cutting edge, Scandi ground, just a huge belly, real sweeping belly. Almost has like that micro bevel on it. So as you take a look, it's almost zero ground, but it just has that little fine micro bevel on it that should aid in the overall strength of the edge. But man, this thing is literally scary sharp. This is going to be a carving machine. It'll be really interesting to get this into field use, and I do look forward to getting this out in the field quite a bit. Nice wide flats, sanded. You can see there that beautiful satin finish, squared off at the top, so across the top of the spine. That was always the standard for a bushcraft knife, making sure that squared off spine, and of course it is here on the Jessmuk, all the way down to that modified Tonto tip, which is really kind of like a reverse Tonto. And you'll notice that that puts this right in line down the center of the handle for those drilling and sort of more bushcrafty style tasks. It's just a real cool design, and it was really well thought through right from the beginning. Now, a lot of similar design elements, if not kind of the same design elements, do translate from the original to now the WorkTuff version. However, a few things have certainly changed. The handle is longer. The handle is generally about the same thickness, but just a little bit different in terms of the shape. A little more round on the original and just a touch more slab-sided on the WorkTuff. However, you can see this does have just awesome texture, that stippling, beautiful liners, and really deep scallops on the side. That's definitely going to aid in your ability to get on the side of the knife for those scraping tasks and just index so positively right down there. Now, you end up with this pronounced guard, which is awesome to protect your fingers, but if you're careful, and this is a little more advanced, but if you're careful, you can certainly choke up on this very carefully without touching that blade, and you can do some detailed carving tasks, and that's going to work out just fine. You need to be very careful because you're right up against that edge. However, you absolutely can do it, and there's plenty of room to do it. Bolt-on scales versus the original, which were those sort of fisheye Corby bolts, and you can see just a real sweet finish. Always just amazing fit and finish, hand sanded right to the tang of the knife. WorkTuff gear always gets their fit and finish literally perfect, and it is second to none. Everything nicely rounded all the way through the pommel end, where you're going to be able to get your thumb over the top for some stabbing tasks. This knife is definitely robust. Seemingly a 5/32 thick stock, which is the sweet spot between something like a 3/16. You can see here, just a little bit thinner, but thicker and a little more robust than 1/8, like the original Jessmuk being 1/8 stock. And so this is definitely going to strike the balance between a nice slicey, just comfortable thickness, but also the robust nature that you need when you're getting a little more aggressive with your knife. Now, one thing I always struggled with my original Jessmuk, I never had a great sheath for it. I did have a sheath, and it was just cheap, and it never did what I needed it to do. So this did not have a lot of belt time, unfortunately, even though it truly deserved it. But the good news is now, well, WorkTuff, always doing such an amazing job with their Kydex, this will have more than enough capability, more than enough belt time, and just a beautiful ride. You can see the standard spacing on the eyelets, beautiful pancake design, has just the awesome retention. You can see how deep and formed this sheath really is. Zero rattle, there never is with Work Tuff Kydex. Good positive lockup. This is not coming out, but the knife just comes out so easily when you need to deploy it for use. So your knife can be, a great tool, but if your sheath does not carry well, it can absolutely make or break your user's experience. So awesome that this Work Tuff gear Jessmuk comes with a beautiful sheath. And so there are certainly things that you can debate. I mean, you can debate whether or not you like the Jessmuk design. You can debate whether or not you like Chris Tanner or Prepared Mind 101. But there are a few things that you absolutely cannot deny. And first is the fact that Chris has been influential in this community. Chris has been very influential in the knife community and the popularity of certain brands, of certain genres, of certain tasks, and he's been extremely diverse in the amount of different types of products and reviews that he has produced, and has certainly influenced me and the diversity that I try to show in my channel. So, beyond all of that, you cannot deny the Work Tuff gear quality and the fact that this Jessmuk is going to be a workhorse. So, all in all, just a real cool opportunity to just sit back, reflect a little bit, kind of think about where things were, where things are, and where things are going to go. So with that, I hope you guys enjoyed that. Thank you for listening. Thank you for following along. Thank you to Work Tuff Gear, who did provide this for review. Thank you to Chris Tanner for all of the influence throughout time. And if you guys like this content, do me a favor. Take a look at my Outer Limitless 2 channel, which is more on the tactical and firearm side of things. At this point, that channel is growing quickly. I have a ton of videos up there. So if you like what you see here on Outer Limitless, do me a favor and check me out on Outer Limitless 2. So, all right, guys, thanks for stopping by. I hope you like what you saw. I hope you found it a little bit informative. If you like what you saw, please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, thanks for stopping by. Take care now. I'll see you soon.